Yeah, we're ready to roll. Iowa and Illinois today, and pregame show number 11 for us.
Yeah.
I think that's right. We've had some fun along the way, from everywhere from Michigan State to here at Iowa, back at home, obviously, and everywhere in between. But first thoughts from today are what from you, Jeremy?
Well, Illinois can keep accomplishing things it hasn't accomplished in a long while. I was doing some research before the game. They haven't beaten Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Iowa in the same season since 1989. That's 30 years. But we have a meaningful late November game in Iowa City where Illinois can not only get some revenge, if they want to call it that, for last year's 63-0 beatdown, but they can pop Iowa in the bowl rankings right now. So if they win today, they can start thinking of warm weather, as Reggie Corbin was saying earlier in the week, that maybe they can get to a bigger bowl game, and depending how the rest of the Big Ten comes out, they can get to a pretty dang good bowl game. And of course, I doubt it's going to happen, but the Big Ten West title is still statistically possible. They'll need some help from Northwestern and Purdue today to get some big upsets, but that's amazing, Brett, that we're sitting here 2 weeks left in the season and Illinois still has all those things to play for.
And it's still possible they can win the Big Ten West. It's not likely. Just win today, Illinois fans, and then you can really start to think about that next week. Even if you win today, though, not necessarily going to happen, because like you mentioned, Northwestern has to win
over
Minnesota,
which is a 13.5-point favorite at Northwestern. Then Purdue would have to win at Wisconsin.
Okay.
They're 24.5-point underdogs.
Right.
So very slim, but hey, they still got it available right now, which is pretty amazing.
And I guess that goes to show just how far this program has come, that we're even talking about that, at this point in the season. All right, injury news coming out here real quick as we get towards today, and this is what it's all about. Jake Hansen not going to play, Big Ten Network reporting.
Yeah, he's not going to play. Oluwole Betiku is in, but with Hansen out, that means Kalen Tolson will be the starter for the second straight week. He really struggled in that first half. His eye discipline was running with guys and kind of ran away from the ball. That allowed Michigan State to have a bunch of big plays, score a bunch of points in the first quarter, but he really settled in that second half. At linebacker, Dawson DeGroot's going to be out. He had a pretty solid game phone in for Milo Eifler last week, but Eifler is back. He'll be playing after getting kicked out of that game. So Illinois feels a little bit better that Betiku is back, gives them an edge rusher, and they really got to get after Nate Stanley, the Iowa quarterback, today. But obviously Jake Hansen, you won last week without him, but he means so much to this defense. So that's going to be tough to overcome. But Tolson did handle himself pretty well over the last half of the game against Michigan State.
Betiku's been out for quite a while now, almost a month, right? Illinois has played pretty well without him. What does he bring now that he's back?
Well, he's still your leading pass rusher, right? He's got 8 sacks. I think the next closest guy is Jake Hansen, so that's why it's important they get some pass rush. That kind of has gone under the radar. Because they've gotten so many takeaways, they've gotten so many defensive touchdowns, they haven't been very good rushing the passer. Like, the quarterbacks have had a lot of time to throw. So Betiku, I don't know if he's going to be all Big Ten player anymore because he missed all that time. He's not A.J. Epinesa, but he certainly is the best pass rusher this team has. So that should be a boost. Can he get one today?
Yeah.
That can mean the difference in the game.
And can they just apply some pressure? Can they get in the backfield a little bit, force Nate Stanley out of the pocket to do some things that maybe he's not comfortable doing? Everyone remembers last year, 63-0. It's not hyperbole. It's one of the worst losses in program history. You get shut out. It's only the second time Illinois has been shut out under Lovie Smith. Ironically enough, the other time was against Iowa. So the 2 times Lovie Smith's been shut out in his Illinois time has been against Iowa. It's been a tough matchup for Illinois the last couple of years. In the last decade, really, they've won 10 out of the last 11. But no one forgets that 63-0 loss last year for Illinois, including the Iowa and Illinois players who both say, hey, this is a completely different ball game this time around.
I don't know if you have to. It speaks for itself, right? I mean, that's just one of the ones that's a nightmare you want to forget, but it's like a bad train wreck. You don't want, you can't. It just keeps going over and over in your mind.
63-0 thrashing out there. We're going to bring that up. Yeah, a few times. I think the guys have heard that a few times, but, I don't think you really need to.
Lovie says he's going to bring it up. Rod Smith says you don't have to bring it up. Both teams remember this last year. We'll hear from the Iowa players in just a couple of minutes on what they remember. Look, Illinois is just trying to prove that it's on a level playing field, so to speak, with Iowa. They come in, they have all the momentum. Illinois won 4 straight. Iowa's coming off a big win over Minnesota last week. That's an upset for them. I think both teams feel pretty good coming in.
I think this is a game not for revenge against Iowa. I think for Illinois, this is more about we want to prove that's a relic of the past, that getting blown out like that against a Big Ten opponent, that's not going to happen anymore. That who are the teams Illinois looks up to in the Big Ten and say, we can beat them? It's not Ohio State. It's Michigan State, it's Iowa, it's Wisconsin, and they beat Iowa, they beat Michigan State, they beat Wisconsin. Now they can prove it against Iowa that, hey, we are here, and we are a team you have to worry about moving forward in the future. We're not that W on the schedule before the season. So I think that's more what it's about, proving to themselves, proving to everyone else that Illinois is legitimate, that they're a legitimate Big Ten team now and into the future. But this is a big matchup because Iowa in Kinnick, they're really good. You saw it last week against Minnesota, another top 10 win for them, and they just play such sound football. They don't turn it over very often. The defense is one of the best in the country. Offensively, they haven't been very explosive, but I didn't think they were last year. Look, they won 63-0 against Illinois.
Illinois has not beat Iowa since 2008 is the last time I had it. Hasn't won it here at Kinnick since 1999. Kurt Kittner and that magical game that was 20 years ago. Illinois is the last time that they pick up a win here. Now the Hawkeyes not taking Illinois lightly either. We chatted with them earlier this week as well. And they say, hey, look, they remember last year, but they think Illinois is on a completely different path this time around.
You know, they're just playing extremely hard. You know, I think they're very confident. You know, like you said, four wins in a row. You know, you don't do that unless you're playing confident, you're playing good football. So we know that they're a physical team and that they're going to come in and compete.
This is a totally new Illinois football team. Anything that, you know, we may remember from the past or see on film from the past, really you can kind of discard it at this point because they're playing at a really different level right now.
Beherns went on to say that he's got a lot of respect for Lovie Smith and what he's been able to do and sticking to his game plan, sticking to what Lovie Smith does, not varying from that. When a lot of us were calling for Illinois', especially defense, to do something different because it just wasn't working, Lovie stuck with it, and the results are paying off now. And that's some strong words from Kirk Ferentz. I mean, he's been around a long time, won a lot of games over the years, perennially been a Big Ten West power. Look, I think he's going to have his team ready to go, but what makes Iowa so good at what they do, especially this season?
Well, you mentioned there's a lot of respect between these two coaches, two NFL guys, and if you talk to people around the league, I just talked to Matt Millen before this game, he said they're two of his favorite people that are coaches in the Big Ten, so a lot of integrity between these two guys. But Iowa just plays sound football. They don't win with electric athletes. I mean, think of the running backs, wide receivers. They're not like a bunch of NFL greats that have come through here. It's linemen. They control the line of scrimmage. And I think for the first time in a long time, Bret, Illinois has an offensive line that actually might be better than Iowa's. Iowa struggled a lot up front with that defensive front. Defensive ends, A.J. Epinesa is probably going to be a top 15 draft pick. Their linebackers are really, really good. So that front seven really dominates games. And then they usually have a playmaking secondary. Maybe not as much as last year. They're giving up some passing yards this year. But they control the line of scrimmage. But this feels like Illinois, for the first time in a long time, matches up in the trenches more than they have in a long time against Iowa.
In typical Iowa football is control the clock, control the game, control the tempo. Illinois may not get as many opportunities to score, especially late. I feel like Kirk Ferentz and Iowa will manage a second half lead better, in a sense, than Mark D'Antonio did a couple of weeks ago. Why were they throwing the ball? I mean, that was incredible to me. They kept giving Illinois chances, and you have to give the Illini credit because they took advantage, and that's important. But I thought Michigan State did a lot of things that I would not expect Iowa to do today if the Hawkeyes do get a lead.
Yeah, I would expect Iowa to stick to the run, though they've struggled to run the football. Both these teams have really struggled to get going early. So if Illinois can get an early lead, which they haven't been able to do here recently, I think that would pay huge dividends for them. But Iowa, if they get a lead, they do control the clock better. They do game manage a little bit better than Michigan State did. I think it's going to be more like the Wisconsin game, where I don't know if Iowa's going to be able to run away from you, but they might be able to set that tone really up front. And kudos Illinois and Brandon Peters, they were able to come back, defense able to get some takeaways. Iowa takes care of the ball well. Illinois takes it away better than anybody. Something's got to give today. It's going to be interesting to watch.
And we talked earlier this week on your radio show. You had me on. Thanks for that. I said, look, I doubted Illinois was going to be able to continue to get takeaways all season long.
I have too.
But here they are, and it's at a point now, Jeremy, where I think I don't know how I can doubt them to not get takeaways at this point.
I mean, there's a part of you, and this is why the odds makers have Illinois as a 15.5-point underdog. Same as last week against Michigan State, by the way. And Illinois is 5-1 as an underdog against the spread, 3 straight victories as an underdog. But the metrics would tell you that Illinois has gotten a little lucky with all the takeaways. But if they keep doing it, and you know that's what Lovie Smith likes to do, then are they really lucky? Is this just something that they do? So I think eventually maybe the ball won't bounce their way. Maybe they won't get that pass interference call. Maybe they won't get the ball recovered on a fumble. But why would you doubt them at this point? 4 straight wins. The big sample size says this is what this team does and does really well.
And there's so many things when I look back at that Michigan State game, right, that had to go the way that they did for Illinois. Converting 2 4th downs on that final drive, one of those the pass interference call, the Josh Mator-Bebe big-time catch was certainly impressive. I don't know. Can Illinois continue to get those breaks? Look, Illinois did not get a lot of breaks for a long time. You felt like they were never going to get a break in the couple of years stretch that Lovie Smith was here, and maybe things are starting to go their way. I'm a believer that you have to be in a position to give yourself breaks as well, and Illinois has not put itself in position to get those kind of breaks. But now that they are, the team says it's having a lot of fun, and look, winning is fun. And so if you're able to win, I think that breeds some confidence. You're able to have a lot more fun, and football in a sense becomes a lot easier. And the guys talked earlier this week about just having fun and how that has helped them on the field.
I mean, it's been great. Dusting off some wins here in the past few weeks. It's really bumped the energy up in the facility, not only around the facility, but also around campus and just around Illini football. So that's been great to see and kind of be a part of.
Everybody's just happy, man. I mean, it's cool to see that. And, when that happens, when everybody's happy, there's, even more room for growth and improvement. And I think people understand that we still have 2 more opportunities ahead of us, and we're going to take full advantage of those.
So we'll see what Illinois can do today, and look, if they can cover a 15.5-point spread, the fun will continue for the Illini, who come in and have been pretty good road warriors this year, all things considered. And I think that speaks of a team that's mature. You have to be able to win on the road to get to a bowl game to be successful, and they've been able to do that by and large, picking up some big-time road wins, maybe none bigger than at Michigan State in that biggest comeback in school history. What does that say to you about how this team has developed just this season, maybe just in the last month after this Illini team was 2-4 in early October?
They're mentally tough. They're mentally mature. They've been through these before, and now they know that with any lead, they can come back, even in a tough environment. Now, I will say, I think this is going to be the toughest environment they have on the road this year. Kinnick, the stands are right there. People are 5 feet away from us. People are right on top of you. It's going to be a beautiful fall day, 45 degrees, sunny. I expect the crowd, it's not going to be a sellout. I expect it to be really, really good. So I think this is going to be a tough environment. I mean, Vidarian Lowe and Alex Paucheski, though, they were here 2 years ago as 17 and 18-year-old freshmen playing in some of their first games. They've matured a lot. They have a lot more confidence coming into this game, but they have shown themselves that they can win in road environments like this, and sometimes it amps you up a little bit more when the rest of the crowd is against you. I think they've thrived offensively.
And I think as a player, if you know and as a team that no one else here is for you, or at least not many people, there's a little bit of orange around here, but it's going to be mainly black and yellow today. You can rally around each other in that sense because you know that no one else here is for you. And I think that may help them a little bit if they're a mature team, and they've shown that they are at least improved from the years past.
And let's give a shout out to Brandon Peters.
Yes.
I think he might actually like playing on the road a little bit more. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder, and while he's level like Lovie, he's got a competitive gene that really comes out. You saw him talking smack to that Michigan State crowd after they came back and won. But I think having that level-headed guy really gives that offense confidence, or just doesn't let them get too low if they're really struggling to score earlier in the game. And they're going to have some bad drives against a really good Iowa defense. So I think having that kind of quarterback actually really helps you.
And the network's caught Brandon Peters a couple of times, talking some smack, pounding his chest. I love that, especially from a quarterback who has that even-keeled demeanor, but he's also got a little chippiness. He's also got a little bit of, dirt in his belly, so to speak, that he's not afraid of anything, that he's going to go out there, and even though in the media he seems kind of just blah or boring or whatever else, when it's game time, man, you want those kind of guys leading your team.
Let me say it. He's really good. I mean, he makes big-time throws. I mean, you can have that. I think Matt Robinson's got that edge to him. He can't make throws like Brandon Peters did. That Michigan State fourth quarter is one of the best performances we've seen by an Illinois quarterback, and he threw an interception. That's been a long time since we've seen a quarterback be able to make those kind of throws. Obviously, Josh Umatore helps, but that end-of-game throw to Daniel Barker prolongs the play. Dre Brown gave him a good block, and he waited, and he got rid of the ball at the right time, scored a touchdown. He was just making big plays throughout that fourth quarter, and I thought he played pretty well in the first half, too. So he has really gotten better. I think he and Nate Stanley have some similarities. He's going to have to outplay Stanley today if Illinois wants to win.
And I think for everyone that questioned Brandon Peters earlier in the season, fair or not, of what he could do, and could Isaiah Williams replace him and all of that, he's come in and proven that he's a better quarterback right now than Isaiah Williams. And that's not to say that Isaiah Williams is not going to be a very talented quarterback in the future. But Brandon Peters was the right guy for the right time for this program. Tommy Stevens comes in. There was talk all about the grad transfer quarterback coming into this year. Everyone knew that they needed one. And I think he's risen to the occasion and really shown that this job was for him. And he's one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason. The defense, sure, count that as well. They've improved. But Brandon Peters is one of the biggest reasons that this team is going to a bowl and has a chance to get to a really good bowl if they can win their final 2 games of the year.
Yeah, if they don't have him, they might be, 4-6 at this point, maybe even 3-7. The defense is obviously the MVP with all these takeaways, but Brandon's made big throws. That's why they brought him in. It's because they knew Isaiah Williams might not be ready. They knew that Matt Robinson and Karan Taylor are redshirt freshmen. Most redshirt freshmen are not ready to be a Big Ten starting quarterback. So Brandon came in, has done what they wanted him to do, which is lead this team to a bowl game. Even if the stats aren't the prettiest, he's managed the game really well, and then he's made big plays when he's needed to.
You said this is one of your favorite places. Your favorite place, Road?
My favorite place in the Big Ten.
Okay.
Like, Wisconsin's cool. There's some really cool places, but I just love the atmosphere around here. The bars are right across the river. There's bars on the way in, but I just love how the people are right on top of you. And then we get to see the Children's Hospital, which they added just a couple years ago, that wave. I think it's a really cool environment, and I think it's something like Iowa can do this, Illinois can eventually do this, right? I mean, they're two similar kind of states and programs, and I think Illinois, they should aspire to be Iowa, and if they can beat Iowa for the first time in a long time, beat them here for the first time in a long time, maybe that's closer to being a reality than we think.
And the Illini players talked earlier this week about going on the road and what that means for them. They say they're okay with it.
It's tough in general going on the road. You have a home field advantage, but I think it also helps when you've done it before. Good football teams have to go to tough places and win. I feel like we're equipped to do that. We run the football on the offensive side. We put an emphasis on ball security and taking the ball away on the defensive side.
We'll see how Illinois responds today. As you mentioned, Jeremy, 15.5-point underdogs. That's what they were at Michigan State as well. They won that game. I'd say they covered just fine. Injuries a concern, though. Jake Hansen is out today. If you're just joining us here on the Illini Nation pregame show, we are live from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Jake Hansen will not play today, and the linebacker depth, I thought, played pretty well overall. It was tested against Michigan State 2 weeks ago. Kalen Tolson gets the start. He will start again today. And you mentioned Dawson DeGroot out as well. Who is that next guy if another person goes down since DeGroot is out?
Yeah, obviously you'll have Jelly Harding in the middle linebacker. Mila Eifler back after getting kicked out of that game at strong side. And they'll have Tolson at weak side. I would imagine Shaman Cooper, they want a red shirt. He's got one more game to play. But Tariq Barnes, they really like at that position. I think he could fill in at one of those. So I think those guys are good. But it's good seeing Olawole Batiku back. Saw him in uniform. You almost forget how impressive he is in person. But it's good to see that kind of physical presence on the edge returning as well.
Is Tariq, does he have his 4 already?
Yeah, he's already played more than 4 games, so he's already burned his red shirt. So yeah, they wouldn't be scared of playing him. But Shaman does have one more. I don't know if they want to wait to maybe play him in the last game against Northwestern, or maybe the bowl game they want to play him in. But they would really like to redshirt him because, boy, he could be a really good 4-year linebacker.
Yeah, and maybe a reward to play in the bowl game for them if they do decide to save Shimon for that bowl game. Illinois already knows it's going bowling. Now it's just a matter of where the Illini will play. You figure if they only stay at 6, they're probably going to be in Detroit on December 26th, the day after Christmas. You get to 7, you're maybe talking New York, and the possibility next week with playing Northwestern, who, look, Northwestern's not good this year. They have a great chance to win that. If you get to 8, Jeremy, and you win your last 6 games of the year, now you're talking to Florida or California, right?
Well, there's a lot of things that could play out because, one, the Big Ten might not fill its bowl allotments with Nebraska and some of these other programs. Michigan State, they still got to win another one. They should. But I think Michigan State's probably lined up to go to Detroit. I think Illinois right now would probably go to the Pinstripe Bowl, even if they beat Northwestern. But if they beat Iowa today, I think they played themselves either in the Red Box Bowl in Santa Clara, California, or they possibly Jacksonville, as you're saying, with the Gator Bowl. But still, if the Big Ten has a national playoff team and 2 New Year's 6 games, it could be one of those Rose Bowl situations where they just get knocked up because everyone else is filling in some other games. So still a lot of possibilities for Illinois. I think New York's probably the most likely at this point, but as Reggie said, if they win this one, I think they're going to go someplace warm.
And I think that's where all the bowl odds makers, so to speak, I don't know if those people exist. I mean, the people that put out the bowl projections, who knows, right? They're just taking their best guess at that. But I think going to the Pinstripe Bowl, everyone just figures that Illinois is going to beat Northwestern next week, which you would surely hope that that would be the case. Northwestern is just not good this year.
Offensively, they can't score.
They're on their 4th-string quarterback, right? I mean, they're not a good team. Illinois should be able to take care of business at home a couple of days after Thanksgiving. And so they figure Pinstripe in New York, which would be a cool venue. It's at Yankee Stadium. It's also cold. I don't think the players want to play in the cold.
I do like how Illinois fans, I get it, because you have other choices. But if I would have told you Pinstripe Bowl before the season, you'd be pumped, right? Like everyone would be like, yes, sign me up. Playing at Yankee Stadium, that's a cool experience. Yeah, it's cold. It's expensive to travel there, so I get it. Wanting to go somewhere else, but a Pinstripe Bowl would be fantastic. I think experience for Illinois. I think just a fantastic statement of how far this team's come.
All right, we're going to wrap up here on the Illini Nation pregame show in just a few minutes, but if you have a couple of keys today for Illinois to get a win, offensively is what?
Offensively, I think it's Brandon Peters is going to have to play well. I mean, AJ Epinesa is going to get his. He's going to beat offensive linemen a couple times. Even Madarian Lowe, they have to slow him down. But I do think Brandon Peters has to come up big in this game. Make some big plays to Josh Mator-Bebe. Maybe Daniel Barker gets involved. But I do think they're going to have to pass the ball because Iowa's front 7 is really good. Defensively, they got to get to Stanley. They got to find a way to get there. Their pass rush has not been good enough. I mean, I could say takeaways, but that's kind of known at this point. If you get 2, I think you feel pretty good about yourself. Iowa takes care of the ball as well as any Big Ten team. So if you can get 2 takeaways and get to Stanley a couple times, I think you're going to put yourself in position to have a chance to win at the end of the game.
Okay, what is Iowa looking to do today to take care of business here at home against Illinois? On Senior Day, no less. This is their last home game of the year. They play Nebraska next week in that huge rivalry game. Maybe you catch them looking ahead. I don't think so. But what does Iowa need to do today to beat Illinois?
I think for them, they want to play Iowa football, which is be able to run the ball. They haven't been good at it this year. But Tyler Goodson gave them a little bit of oomph last week. He brings some speed as a redshirt freshman. They want to establish the run so they control the clock. They can kind of control this game, take away opportunities for Illinois. Defensively, I think they just want to shut down Reggie Corbin and Dre Brown. Make Brandon Peters in that passing game beat you. I know Michigan State lost that way at the end of the day, but I think if you do that, Brandon Peters usually throws in harm's way every once in a while, and Illinois just doesn't have a lot of game breakers outside of Mator-Bebe, so I think they want to control the run game on both sides.
All right, here's the matchup, Illinois and Iowa. Illinois has won 4 straight games. It's incredible to think what they've been able to do since they were 2-4. Many people were calling for Lovie Smith's job. Fair or not at that point, he's turned it around. You got to give Illinois and Lovie Smith a lot of credit for what they've been able to do. Can they make it 5 straight Big Ten wins? Hasn't happened since 2001, the Big Ten title team. Illinois is making a lot of history this season, rewriting those record books, so to speak, and crossing off the last time since Illinois has done something. We've had a lot of those this season. And you mentioned at the start of the show, 30 years since Illinois has beat Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and who was the other team?
These are in the same season, those three.
Oh,
just those three.
Okay.
It's been that long. I've been a homer in recent weeks, right? Like even superfan Robert Rosenthal had them losing pretty handily at Michigan State. I did not see them coming back and winning after they got down. I actually have Illinois losing this week in a competitive game. I do have Illinois covering, but I have Iowa 24, Illinois 20. But I think that would tell you Illinois is a legitimate team. Like obviously they've proven that the last month, but I think this could be a tough game. I think Iowa, like you said, I think they're just a little smarter, take care of the ball a little better. Michigan State.
Yeah, I don't have Illinois winning either. Look, I think the cover at 15.5 is going to be close at some point. If you were to just look at these two teams on paper, Iowa's probably a 2-touchdown better team than Illinois at this point for what they've been able to do this season at 7-3, right? And they
number 17 in the country.
They've played pretty well for what they've been able to do, but we didn't pick Illinois to necessarily win, you know, the way they had the last couple of weeks either.
What they're playing for, possibly ranking after this week.
Yes.
If they beat Iowa, I think Illinois is going to get a lot of votes. They might be on the border of getting into the rankings, but if they win this game, beat a number 17 team, I think Illinois got a real good case to be 25-24.
I think the last time Illinois received votes, 2011. Does that sound about right? Maybe the
2012 was the last time they received votes.
Okay. All right. So that's going to do it for the Your Illini Nation pregame show live from Kinnick. We'll have all sorts of coverage coming up after the game and online as well. Make sure to check out Illini Inqurier for all your coverage after the game. And we'll do it again next week. Number 12, the final Your Illini Nation pregame show of the season, before the bowl game, obviously. We'll do one before the bowl game, but we'll see if Illinois can get it done here today at Kinnick. For Jeremy, I'm Bret. Thanks for watching. We'll see you after the game.